Project Azorian, the submarine heist that became Black Ops history. In 1974, the CIA used Howard Hughes as cover to steal a Soviet nuclear submarine. The Cold War wasn't fought in one place. It stretched across oceans, continents, deserts, and skies. It was paranoia weaponized, a duel where even silence was dangerous. Both America and the Soviet Union built arsenals capable of ending civilization, and both hunted for any weakness in the other's armor. In March 1968, the Soviets lost one of their most lethal assets, K-129, a Gulf II-class ballistic missile submarine, armed with nuclear warheads, packed with codebooks, crewed by 90 men who never surfaced. Somewhere in the Pacific, the sub imploded, vanishing into a grave nearly 3 miles deep. The Soviets scoured the ocean but found nothing. They wrote it off as a tragedy. For the CIA, it was an opportunity. If America could recover the sub, it would gain Soviet codes, nuclear technology, maybe even insight into Moscow's launch systems. In a war where secrets were currency, this was the ultimate jackpot. But retrieving it was science fiction. No vessel existed that could descend that far and bring up thousands of tons of steel. The CIA's solution was bold: build one. They needed cover. The plan couldn't look like espionage. Enter Howard Hughes. At the time, Hughes was a legend of American excess. Aviator, filmmaker, billionaire recluse. He'd already been tied to government projects before, so his name carried just enough plausibility. The agency fed the press a story. Hughes was backing a ship to mine minerals from the ocean floor. The tale sounded eccentric enough to be believable. The truth? The ship was a front for one of the most daring intelligence missions of the century. The vessel was christened the Hughes Glomar Explorer. It looked like a futuristic oil platform stretched into a ship. Underneath was a hidden moon pool, a massive opening where the claw would operate in secrecy. That claw, officially called the capture vehicle, was an engineering monster. Its jaws were designed to clutch the submarine's hull and lift it intact to the surface. Construction took years. Costs skyrocketed to hundreds of millions, all buried in classified budgets. The Soviets noticed the project, of course. They kept watch. But the Hughes cover story held. To the outside world, it was just another eccentric capitalist chasing riches. By summer 1974, the Glomar Explorer sailed into the recovery zone. The Pacific stretched endlessly around it. Beneath the waves lay a steel coffin loaded with nuclear secrets. The operation began. The claw descended. Hours turned into days as miles of steel pipe were lowered into the ocean. At 3 miles deep, the claw reached the wreck. The crew guided it into position with precision. Slowly, it closed around the sub's remains. The lift began. As the sub rose, the stress was enormous. Tons of corroded metal strained the claw. Inside the ship, engineers monitored every vibration, every groan. Then disaster. Somewhere between the seabed and the surface, the claw failed. The wreck tore apart. Most of K-129 slipped free and plunged back into the abyss. What remained was only a section, the forward half. Inside were 2 nuclear torpedoes, code material, and 6 Soviet bodies. Not the treasure trove the CIA had hoped for, but still significant. The remains of the sailors were given a burial at sea, recorded in a ceremony later leaked decades after. The crew of the Glomar Explorer had achieved a partial victory. Not the whole sub, but enough to prove the mission wasn't madness. They'd done what no one else had even attempted: lift a foreign nuclear vessel from an impossible depth. But now came the hardest part: hiding the truth. Quick pause. If you want more stories they'll never teach you in school, hit subscribe. Back to it. Reporters got suspicious. A ship of that size, costing that much, drew attention. Investigators sniffed around. The CIA scrambled. When asked directly about the mission, officials invented a line so vague it became legendary: "We can neither confirm nor deny." That phrase, the Glomar Response, was born from this exact cover-up. Today, it's still the default answer whenever intelligence agencies dodge questions. The Soviets knew something had happened. Their subs shadowed the Glomar Explorer, but they were too late. They demanded answers. Washington stayed silent. Moscow was left humiliated, knowing a part of their fleet had been dragged up by the enemy, but unable to prove it. For the CIA, Project Azorian was both triumph and heartbreak. They didn't get the full submarine. They didn't crack open every code book, but they demonstrated a level of technological daring that terrified the other side. If America could attempt this, what else was it capable of? The fallout lingered for years. The Glomar Explorer was eventually retired, its true purpose hidden until declassified files decades later. Hughes died in seclusion. The Soviet Union collapsed long after, but the ghost of K-129 still haunts the ocean floor. It's the kind of story gamers assume is written for a cutscene. But it happened. Today, fragments of the story survive in redacted documents and whispers. The burial video of the sailors, the infamous Glomar phrase, the legend of the claw. Enough to confirm it wasn't fantasy, but not enough to reveal every secret. And now, 50 years later, it resurfaces. Reimagined in a Call of Duty campaign, dramatized in film, whispered about on channels like this. Because legends like this never stay buried. If you want more stories of secret wars, real missions, and truth stranger than fiction, you know what to do. Subscribe, because this is just one operation. There are dozens more, and they'll blow your mind even harder.